so let me just give you a brief introduction. I did my master's I did BS from what is now IIT BHU in 1964, long time back. Then I did master's from in mechanical engineering from IIT Roorkee now in 1966, completed. Then I came abroad, and we will talk about it, about my career. But right now I am Distinguished Professor and Director of Spacecraft Research and Design Center at Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, USA. And I'm also lucky that I got distinguished alumni both from IIT BHU and IIT Roorkee. So I'm very grateful to my alma mater. That's why I started scholarships and all that for both.
We'll start with some questions to basically learn about your different, your rationale and thought process behind different stages in your career, basically the milestones in your career. So why did you choose to do MS instead of going for a job in the industry after BS?
Yes, actually, after I got my BS from what is now IIT BHU, I looked at my strength. What are my strengths and weaknesses? And I realized that I am good doing technical work. I always got good grades. In fact, I got second position in mechanical engineering pre-final year, but I was not good in leadership role or in communications. And at that time, most of the job in industry were more like a manufacturing. So you have to deal with junior people and the laborers and all that. And I felt I don't think I'm fit for it. So I wanted to go in teaching and research, actually research and teaching. And for that, you have to do postgraduate studies. So that's what I did.
That's great to know, sir. And what was the specific motivation to go abroad for MS or for higher studies instead of working in India? You talked about this thing that most of the jobs in India were of leading manufacturing people. But why go for abroad for MS, not in India?
Yeah, so actually, my motivation to go abroad again was that if you really want to excel and you want to do research and teaching, you should get the highest degree. So I wanted to get a PhD. And so I did apply to some universities, but fate really played a role because I got a job at Delhi IIT as a lecturer. And from Roorkee, I was planning to leave in the morning from Roorkee to Delhi. Then I got delayed. Then I said, okay, let me have lunch. So I had a lunch. After lunch, I went to my room, and then I saw the offer from McMaster University in Canada for the full scholarship. So I call it fate. If I'd gone in the morning to Delhi IIT, then I would have missed that letter, and I would have joined IIT Delhi, which is not bad. And so I do want people to know fate plays role in your career. But at that time, my plan was that I will just go get my PhD and come back and won't stay abroad. So that was my thinking. At least that's what I told my mother, that I'm going only for 3-4 years. I will come back. Although it did not happen, but that was the plan. At that time, actually, most of us were thinking to go back.
Just a quick follow-up question on this. So what kind of role was offered to you at IIT Delhi?
Oh, they offered me lecturer.
Okay.
So with MS, they give you lecturer. And So that was in applied mechanics department. So Delhi IT was quite, actually I got from offer from Roorkee University also, but I decided to go to Delhi, and my family is also near Delhi. So that was the reason.
And typically students run away from PhD due to the long time it takes. So how did you manage to expedite your journey? And would you like to share any advice for undergraduate students thinking of pursuing PhD?
Yes, I think PhD is not for everyone. So you should do PhD only if really wants to do it and you feel confident that yes, I can handle it. So those who wants to do research and teaching and you want to excel, then you should do PhD. But you should do PhD as soon as possible at your younger age. If you delay it, then it will become difficult. So in my case, that's what I did. I did master, then I got my PhD, and then got the job. So my advice will be, MS is good enough for most of the industry, but if you really want to do in research and teaching, you should do PhD and try to finish as early as possible.
That's a great advice, sir. And why did you choose to join ComSat? And were you always interested in space? And how did it link to your previous background?
Yeah, so that is quite interesting. I think fate has played many roles for me. So that was also my fate to join ComSat. So I finished my PhD. And luckily, I finished in a very short time, just 2 years. So I got my PhD, about to get my PhD, but I did not have any job. And that was year 1969. The Apollo program, all the work was done. So they were not, it was very hot in 68, but 69, the job market went bad. So I was very nervous. So what I went to the placement center at my university, and there is a book. It has a list of all the companies. So I look at the companies who are looking PhD in mechanical, and I even did not know whom I was applying. So I got a call from ComSat that we want you to come for interview. And I did not know whether I even applied for ComSat. I even did not know ComSat, what they do. And I asked my colleague, he said, oh, there was an article in Times. They get and they build a communication satellite. So then I said, okay, it is in the space. So I went for interview, and luckily I got that job. So I joined ComSat not because I was interested in space. I joined because that was the only job I got. But turned out that was the best job because it was like a Bell Lab. They gave very high salary. So many times fate plays a role in your life, and you should try different things. You never know where you will get a break.
That's very true, sir. So what kind of research were you involved in at the beginning of your job at ComSat?
Actually, I was basically in ComSat labs. So it was a research, this was a company and they have a research lab, ComSat labs. So initially I was interested, or I got a job in spacecraft structure because mechanical background, more like a vibration and all that. So that's where I worked on. Our satellite was built in California. So we used to go and help and testing and all that. But so that was the starting on spacecraft. But then I expanded into different areas because I get bored after 4 or 5 years. I think I know everything. Now I should learn something more. And that's how I think my nature is.
That's quite
I like to be a student.
That's quite interesting, sir. And so the satellite manufacturing must be involving multidisciplinary things. So I believe students who are pursuing their studies in computer science, electronics, mechanical, as well as electrical must be having some kind of opportunities there. So how one can basically prepare themselves for a career in a company like ComSat, any suggestions about that?
Yeah, I think you made a very good statement. Satellite is multidisciplinary. It has a mechanical, it has electrical, communication. Now, computer is very important. Before, we used to have hardwired, but now you got an onboard processor, which is doing a lot of work, and chemical engineering and materials and all that. So I think the basic is if you really want to go for space in India, you have background in one of those areas and a good background. And my suggestion is in India also, space is growing. I think, as you can see, it used to be more like a communication satellite or so, but now they even want to go to Mars and the moon and all that. So one way to do it is if somebody is interested, maybe do masters in aerospace engineering, and that Indian Institute of Science is very good, IIT Kanpur, or even join ISRO directly. So they have a lot of openings, and I think if you are good from IITs, then you have a better chance. Only thing is, I enjoyed my journey, always challenging, always interesting, except probably you won't become very rich because you're working for the government or you're working for a company like that. But you will enjoy the work which is always challenging.
Definitely, sir. So I'll hand over to Anant now to pitch in for his questions.
Yeah, thanks, Divyanshan. Thanks, sir, for your insights and all. So, sir, you have talked about your career in the space industry and you have contributed a lot in the space industry. So, sir, what do you recommend as the next step for an undergraduate student who is actually looking for a career in the space technology industry in India, particularly?
Yeah, I think my suggestion is find out about ISRO. And ISRO, I think government is also trying to privatize. So I have a feeling in few years, most of big Indian companies will have space business. And it will not be only ISRO, DRDO, space, like I'm kind of in the military. So space is becoming a big part of the military also. So I know, I work with DRDO, they are also getting into space. They want to build their own satellite for the military application and all that. So my suggestion is try to find out more about, and if somebody wants I had all the contacts in ISRO at one time, they're all retired. And, but I can make, there is a one Dr. P.S. Goyal, he used to be director building satellites. So he was a very senior guy and he's a very good friend. So if somebody is interested, I can introduce to him.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, did PhD help you in your career in the industry?
Yeah, in industry, it helps, but it gives you some advantage, but not really a big advantage. So if you want to go to industry, you do PhD because you want to do it, it will not hurt you. But only thing is, I suggest you do PhD, but forget about that you have a PhD. So don't have any ego that you know more than anybody else. You work on the mainstream, like whatever the company is basically business. So like in my case, I really worked whatever the company, communications and all that. And I wrote my book on my personal time. So as far as a company and PhD helped me, I got respect, but at the same time, I have to produce. So one advantage of PhD is that, like I did, you can move into academia, which if you don't have PhD, you can't do it. So there are, I think, in PhD, most of the time you get a scholarship, you don't pay anything. So I think it's not a bad deal, as long as you have a patience and you have a capability.
Just a quick follow-up question, sir. So does industry at the beginning level differentiate between PhD and MS in terms of role? I mean,
yeah, they do it they give you higher salary because you have a PhD, and they try to give you like a more, because you got additional expertise, like in certain areas, like a pointing and all that, they almost require a PhD if you don't have a PhD, because that is very highly technical area and all that. In other areas, you don't. So depending on your area, they will give you only point I'm making is that I've seen many PhDs and they work in the industry, but they always have an ego and they want to do only very challenging advanced work, and they don't want to do routine work. Then they are not liked and they don't go anywhere.
That's a great
So
point, sir.
it does help you. It did help me from that point of view. But I had bosses who were only MS, some PhD also.
That's it.
That's a good point, sir. So, sir, while we work for the industry, we face numerous challenges each and every day. So, sir, what were the typical challenges that you have faced while your career in the industry, and what you had to do excel in the industry?
Yeah, that is a good question. And in my case, I think one challenge I had, as I said before, I did not have very good written or oral communication, because I think both IIT BHU or Roorkee, they really don't emphasize that. And that is very important to succeed in industry, because you have to have not only a good idea, but you should be able to sell your idea, argue your idea. And if you can't speak very well, if you can't talk or write your idea, then it will not go too far. So I spent first few years trying to improve those things and emphasize books and all that. So that was kind of a challenge for me. Here in America, for high school student, they give you project, they ask you to give a presentation. So they emphasize this communication. Other thing which I found was that industry, it is like a crowd. I'm saying if you want to excel. So there are a lot of people, and top management, they don't know many people. So if you want to excel, you have to be above the crowd. If you are above the crowd and you are excelling in one area that everybody says, okay, if you want expert advice on this, you should go to Brij Agrawal. Then you get recognition in your company and you do well. But if you are one of 100 engineers, and then I don't think it really help you. So that is also kind of a very, very important. And so I think those are the two things which I realized. You have to see how things work in the industry, and every industry has a slightly different. But bottom line is industry wants you to produce because they're paying your salary.
Just a follow-up question, like, is there anything specific you did to improve your speaking skills?
Say it again.
Is there anything specific you tried to do to improve your speaking and communication skills?
Yeah, basically what I did, in fact, it is a little bit embarrassing. Then I even went to the library and read some of the books about improving communication or something, and how to write a memo and report, and what you should write first and what you should. And actually, these things you can learn. Like as I said in the beginning, I was not good. I did not give summary in the beginning and then details. But later on, I became very good. Then people, my bosses and all that, they really liked what I wrote and they did not make changes. Now, as far as the leadership and communication, I kind of got involved into Holi Diwali function in our community and all that. And that, like you can learn leadership role and see how to deal with people and all that. So once you decide, I think the important part was for me to accept it that I am weak in those areas. Once you accept it, then you can improve it.
Just a quick follow-up question, sir. So typically we have seen in our career that technology improves and changes in every few years. So how did you keep yourself updated when you were in industry with latest changes in technology? Because I mean, things get obsolete within 2 to 5 years, I believe, in computer science and mechanical engineering and research areas as well.
That is again a very good question. Things are changing very fast. So you have to always look how things are changing. And you're talking to the colleagues and all that. And even in academia, you have to keep on changing. So as I said, I get bored doing the same thing after 5 years. So I was basically looking what is new and all that. And at our time, we did not have Google. We could not get information on that. But nowadays, I think it's very easy to really learn new technology as long as you know what you want to learn. So you should always, you completed your BS or MS and you think, oh, my student life is over. That is not true. If you really want to excel, you should always be a student. And same thing I did in my academia, that there I was in satellite pointing. Then I went into adaptive optics because that was interesting area to me. Then I went into high energy laser beam control. And now in the last 2-3 years, I got interested in artificial intelligence. So I taught a course that you can do in academia easily. And you have a thesis students and all that. So now people say, oh yeah, you are expert in AI. But I did not know anything 4, 5 years back. So that is, if there is a lesson which I want to emphasize to the student, that keep on learning new things and you can do it. It's not very difficult, especially nowadays, because you get a lot of courses to do it.
Just a quick follow-up question on that as well, sir. So Google is definitely a benefit in terms of having a lot of resources, but how do you filter good resources for your own research work? I mean, or for your own learning. Let's say you want to pursue learning in some particular new field, but there's a lot of resources. But any tip on how do you manage to
okay.
find
So let me tell
resources?
you one thing how I did in AI. So I became interested because I heard so much about AI, and I said, "What is AI?" and all that. So I said, and I have a small group, 3-4 people. So I have an advantage that I can tell them, hey, why don't you get the information on this, do this and that. So basically what I did on AI, nowadays, Google, fine, but Google will help you. There are a lot of video courses, which like Stanford has a very nice course on AI. So I basically closed my door and for 2-3 months, I just listened to all those videos. Then I bought a lot of books, but most of them were not really that great. And I want to do fundamental. That is the one thing. It is important that you don't have your knowledge superficial. You should go into the depth. Then I got, one guy came on sabbatical. So I told him, I want you to just focus on that. So I got one book, which was very good, and most of them. So I think get a good book, get good courses, and go into the depth, and I think you can do it. Only problem is that if you want to learn hardware and the labs, that you can't do it. Then you have to really work in the labs, and then only you have to have a hands-on experience that you can't learn from books.
Definitely, sir.
Sure, sir. I think effective communication, consistent learning, and depth study are definitely the key skills that one should have while working for industry and for the academia. As you talked about that, you have also written a book on the satellite industry. So what actually motivated you to write this book?
Yeah, that is also another story, and that book has helped me a lot. Actually, I told you that I did not know anything about satellite when I joined ComSat. So I went to ComSat library and started looking for any book on the satellite. And there was no book on the satellite. And then I had to learn, because I wanted to learn what my colleagues were doing in the different areas, as satellite is a multidisciplinary area. So I started reading from the contractor report, talking to my colleagues, and it was like a very nice environment. So I started making my own notes on the different subsystems, like a structure, but orbit dynamics, electric power, propulsion, communications, and all that. Because I used to go to the meeting, and sometimes this contractor will come, and there will be one guy, and he could answer questions in any spacecraft subsystem. And I was quite impressed. Hey, how come he knows so much about all these things? So that was my goal. So I started making notes. Then I said, okay, now I have in all the areas, how about publishing it? So I contacted many publishers, and Prentice Hall agreed to publish my book. Although I got discouragement from some colleagues, say, you're not going to make much money, and why are you doing this and that? I said, no, somebody is willing to publish it, why not? So that book was published in 1986. It took me a long time, almost 10 years. But that book was the first book on spacecraft design. As I said, there were no other book. And it became very popular. Like it became like a textbook at MIT, Stanford, even my current institution, and as a reference book. And even in Russia, they translated it and all that. So I think what I am now, it is because of the book. And that really put me at the international level, because there was no other book. And this was a book which was on the satellite design and technology. And so what was my motivation? My motivation was basically to excel and to be above the crowd. You know, this book put me above the crowd. Everybody knew there is a Brij Agrawal. Like I went to one conference just with my wife 2-3 years back, and he said, Agrawal, oh, that is good. Do you know Brij Agrawal, who wrote the book? And I said, that's me. Oh boy, he became so nice. And that was good in front of my wife. And he told everybody, you know, oh yeah, his book is very good and this and that. So wherever I go, I get. So that is, once you have high goal and you go after it, you can achieve. At least you have tried. Secondly, like my wife was not working, I was only working. So I said that will give me some solid foundation that I will not be worried about the job. Secondly, I thought it will help the community. So technical community. And actually that's what happened. Like in some of the companies, when new guy comes, they used to give my book. Hey, why don't you go and read that book? So that book has really helped me even to get into academia.
Right. Yes, so that's good to know that even the good institutes or the great institutes are following that book, and you are doing such a good work for contribution to the society and all. I think that's really good to know. That's Jitendra, I would like to hand over to you.
Thank you, Anand. So, sir, what was your motivation to move to academia after spending almost 20 years in the industry?
Yeah, that is kind of again, a good question. And so I basically worked at ComSat, Intelsat satellite. These are communication satellite. So I worked there for 20 years and I reached to the highest technical level. And if you want to move further, you have to go into management. And so I started going into the management. And there I realized that in management, I was spending more time just summarizing what other people are doing and trying to solve some personal problem. I had about 15, 20 people working. And I was losing my technical, I think, strength. So I was feeling a little bit uneasy. So I thought I have another 20 years, 25 years of my career before I retire. And so I thought maybe teaching and research is a good option, teaching, because there you can do whatever you want to do it. And so I started teaching like a part-time at the local university, there, Maryland University and George Washington, teaching a design course and pointing and all that. And that was becoming a little bit too much. So I started looking for a faculty job. That was also difficult because, as I said, I worked for 20 years and I had a good job. So I could not go to academia at the junior position. I could go only as a full professor in senior position, which are not that many available. But luckily at this institute, Naval Postgraduate School, they were looking for someone to head starting an astronautics group department. And they were using my book as a textbook in teaching design course. So they knew me. So I applied to this institute and they were kind of very happy to have me, and they offered me. What I did, Intelsat was very good. I asked them 2 years leave of absence. Give me 2 years, and then if I don't like there, they will take me back, because getting that job was not easy once you leave. And then I did not sell my house also. So basically my plan was to, and I was not sure whether I would like academia or not. So I made the move with this safety that if I did not like, I will come back. And luckily it worked out very well.
I think that's a really great way to plan your transition into academia, taking a sabbatical.
Yeah, so that is, yeah, I think it is important. You have to think about things may not go well. So you have to take all that into account.
Okay. So once you moved into academia, did you face any challenges in your academic life?
Yeah, when I came academia, I think one of the challenge I had, because I came as a full professor, senior professor, and they gave me the highest salary because I was taking salary cut. So my chairman and dean, they were very supportive because they gave me the offer. But I had some colleague, one or two, who were got their PhD from Caltech and Stanford and all that. And they say, hey, this guy is from industry. He did not teach and he's making more than us. So there was a little bit kind of that feeling, but chairman and dean. But then I really worked hard for first year and a half and set up new degrees, new department, and hiring people in the labs. So I think I worked hard for that year and a half. Then they were not, I did not have opposition after that. I got full support. Another challenge was which is true in USA, not in India. In USA, in academia, you're not paid for 12 months. You are basically paid for maximum 9 months. So you have to get research money for paying part of your salary, and then for your postdoc, if you want to do good research and getting it, and to students also in civilian university. In our case, our students are fully paid. So that is another challenge for academia, that you have to not only do good research, but you have to sell your research, and you have to kind of you have to get research money. And so I think it was good for me that I worked in industry. So I learned how to talk with people and how to do little marketing. And so I think the one thing I was very happy about it, because as I said, I don't like one area. So I started in the satellite pointing. Pointing is very, very accurate imaging satellite, like a 0.0001 degree or so. Then I started with the vibration because I was in mechanical and vibration control. Then I became interested in adaptive optics because that was the field and was growing. Then I became interested in the high energy laser. And now I'm in AI. So I ended up getting good research money for all my 30 years. I always believe you make something which is solid. It takes you time, don't rush, but make solid. So I developed the labs, which are kind of unique from any university. I think we have the best, and being part of DoD, we could do that. So once we have very good labs, then getting research money also becomes easier, because again, you are unique in comparison to other places. And that is the reason we got AI funding, because we got a good lab and high energy laser, so we can compare traditional way and AI way, which other universities don't. So that, I think, one thing is there. So whatever you do, think long term and do something which is difficult. People don't want to do it, but you do it, and then you have a solid foundation.
That's really great advice. So going to the next question, I would like to ask, like, having worked in both industry and academia, what advice would you give to a student who is weighing both options?
Yeah, that is I worked in both, and I liked both. I enjoyed when I was in industry, and I'm enjoying, they have a different strength. I think it really depends on the individual. Like in my case, I was happy for first 15, 20 years in industry, but then I moved to academia because my focus was to excel in the technical area. So that is the reason I moved into academia, and I wanted to do freedom, whatever you want to do it, because in industry, you can do at your own, but you have to do whatever is the main business of the industry. But in industry also, I really liked it because you are producing some product. Like here in the university, our product is research papers, and our PhD student and master student. And when they become full professor and get a program manager, a big program, which happened to my student, you feel good about it. So that is your product. But in industry, you are producing some product which become useful for the community. And so that is also very satisfying. And you are working with that. So if you are interested in management, dealing with people, and some people are, they're not interested in, they're smart, but they want to do that, then industry is a better place. So my suggestion would be, look into what you like to do, what you are good at, and then select industry or academia or research, depending on your interest.
So, like,
Just a quick follow-up question, sir. So does it mean that in industry, if you want to excel at higher level, then you need to be good at the people management skills, or you can still be a technical person and be senior in the company?
Yeah, that is actually quite important. So what happens, as I mentioned about our company, Intelsat, they had you can move up to certain position, and then you have to go into the management. So basically, your interpersonal skill is very important, even if you are technical, because you can't just publish papers. You have to help other people, and they have to respect that, yes, you are useful, you are a smart guy, and they need you. What has happened in industry, at least I know in space industry, they have started like a technical fellow, senior technical fellow or technical fellow, and they give them grade like a director level or manager level, so that those people don't feel that they have to go, like in my case, only way was to go into the management if you want to move up. So, but those positions are very few and very competitive. So I think in summary, if you want to do a technical job and continue doing it, excelling it, then you do have a limit how far you can move. And the other thing, which is industry, I found some colleagues, you have to be also doing multiple jobs. If you just do in one area, that area may become obsolete, and or they may not need your help, then you are out of business. So even if you are doing a technical, you cannot, because as you mentioned, technology is changing very fast. So you have to keep on reinventing yourself, even the technical areas. So I think that's what is important. But I think with the technical area, you have little peaceful life compared to becoming a director or manager, because you have many personal problems, and then you are also insecure because your technical expertise have come down. So, so I think so it really depends, but there are limits how far you can go if you're just technical.
Definitely, sir. It brings us back to the point that one needs to be a student no matter what, a student for lifetime, no matter what field one chooses.
Right, right.
Sir, we would like to thank you on behalf of the Alumni Mentorship Program, IIT Roorkee, for taking out the time to be here today and enlightening us by sharing your knowledge, learning, success in today's conversation. It was both.
No, I think you are most welcome. As I said, like I feel kind of an obligation to basically help my alma maters and India, because that's where I got my foundation. And that is the reason that if there is opportunity to help, I always make it as a priority. So you are most welcome.